Okay, we have a few minutes, so let's knock out turn number 3. First, some housekeeping items. You'll notice that I've added an additional block here. I've been doing the forfeitures wrong. Forfeitures are supposed to go into the reserve with the 2 reserve counters. And so those points are not immediately of use to a player unless they first exhaust their regular counter. The next thing that was ambiguous in the rules, but I don't think it's going to affect us, are standards. I've been moving them forward here during the advance and fire phase. It turns out that in the QRS that's in the original Totten rules, that a standard, as long as it's advancing forward using a maneuver move, that's free. But if it moves to the side, that should be 10 points. Well, since the oblique is to the side, but the oblique is also forward, what should we do? I think the intent of the rules here is that a true sideways movement should be 10 points for a maneuver move for a standard, but it should be 0 as long as you're moving in the forward direction. So either oblique to the left or right or directly forward. So that's what we're going with. And then finally, there was, we're not in the skirmishing phase yet, but I had to correct my, I had to correct my rules for the skirmishing phase. Skirmishing phase is going to be a set of moves that are 1 minute apiece for each player. And it's implied that there's no movement cost, and then there's an optional rule. We'll see that once we get to the skirmishing phase, but there's an optional rule about how to do the back and forth with points, even though we're not using an entire counter, because obviously we can't when it's just limited to 1 move of 1 minute apiece. Okay, with that kind of housekeeping out of the way, we're coming around to turn 3 now. This is going back to the Confederate side for him to execute his moves. So Confederate side begins now. We're in step 2, pay forfeitures. So cavalry units, I've got my cavalry units going out to scout ahead. On the oblique, 5 and direct 7. On the oblique, 5, 7, and again facing does not matter. Oh boy, oh boy. There's no terrain cost for moving across a hill. I did check in advance of this turn. So topographic features only seem to matter as far as like combat effectiveness. Actually, he's moving forward again. So this is going to be 6. 6 will put him over here. I think I'll bring the commander on. Just going to put him on the road between these 2 pieces. This is Brigadier General John H. Kelly. He's in his 20s. He's like the youngest Confederate general, might have been the youngest general in the entire Civil War. I think we're doing okay now. We'll just keep doing the regular maneuvers. So I'm going to keep my engineering resources here for now because we don't know where the Federals are crossing yet. I do want to bring my dismounted cavalry unit forward. Infantry moves forward direct 4, oblique 3. So 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 3. So that's going to be 12 and 3. That's going to be 12 and 3 is 15. That'll take me up to 39, and then I'll leave me 10 points for my artillery. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Put him on the reverse slope as well. Remember, the goal of the advance and contact phase is to make sure, we won't mess with that right now, is to make sure that our units get into contact with each other. 5 units in contact. 39. That leaves me 11 points left. How are we doing with this artillery? Artillery, 4 on the oblique, 6 direct. 4 on the oblique, 6 direct. I can think about this for a second. So 4, 4, and 3. I think that's going to be fine. So we'll keep this guy kind of on the 3. This is going to be 4, 4, and 3. That is 8, 9, 10, 11, which takes me down to 0, which means there's 0 in IOU. And I did that within my time constrained limit. Okay, continuing with the Union side, let's set the timer now to 10. I gotta push out my cavalry first. And the interesting thing is we're getting almost into range now with cavalry, right? One more cavalry unit. No, the Union only has 2 cavalry units. Okay, so 7 and 5 for these guys. That takes us down to 38. Let's go ahead and get the artillery moved up. Artillery can move up. Artillery costs 4 on the oblique, 6 direct, 4 on the oblique. I'm going to keep these guys going. Yeah, crossing points down there. I need to push that artillery unit off to the oblique as well. We're going to push both of them on the oblique. So 4 on the oblique for the Battery D of the 1st Ohio Light Artillery. You know, the original system would be a grid system. My map is supposed to arrive here in a couple days. I'm looking forward to swapping that out on the table. And then my boys from the Chicago Board of Trade here, let's move them. Gosh, I can't move them independently with the cavalry unit out here. They would be too far out of support, and I would challenge the military. I would challenge them not doing things in a very military way if I do that. We don't know what the ford conditions are at the 2 ferry sites. We do know that this is fordable up here. And there is, you know, trees in this area. How are we doing on time before I get too wordy? There are trees all throughout this area. There's a map that was made by the Union that's part of the Library of Congress. But anyway, this artillery unit would not be able to see what's going on over there. Nobody at this point would have line of sight on anybody else. This would be a true, I mean, ideally we'd be doing this as a Kriegspiel, but I'm doing this with not only a great deal of historical knowledge, but also the omniscience that comes from being the referee and both of the players. But I don't think I would push this battery any further than 4, knowing that he's got a range of 3, so really that's going to put him almost to the point where he can cover that crossing site. I think if I push him up forward directly, though, I can go 6, and then that crossing site would be within range. So I think 6 is still wise as long as I push up everything else as quickly as possible. So the Chicago Board of Trade is right out front here. So that is 6, 4, and 4. So that's going to be 14 more points off of theirs. So that takes us down to 24. I'm running out of time now. 24. I've got to get this infantry moving. Infantry moves up at 4 or 3. And again, at the end of this video, I'll post the map. Maybe I'll post it right now in the video so that you can see what this is actually meant to be simulating. I think that engineering unit, might be, he needs to go to a central position. So this guy needs to move as he needs to. We're running out of time. He needs to move up. Engineers, how do they move? I think they move like infantry. Standard stuff. Engineers move forward like an infantry guy. So he can move up 4 directly. I think he would feel safe because there's nothing crossing, although I shouldn't push him up that far. That's being really aggressive. But then again, people that know me know that I like to be aggressive. So I'm going to push him up 4, which lets me push up my infantry unit here up 4 as well. So Company X of the 1st U.S. Volunteer Engineer Regiment. And then these guys, this infantry unit can move up 4. So 4, 4, 3, 3. It's going to be 4, 4, 3, 3. So it's going to take me down to, this leaves me with 7 and 7 is 14 more off of that. So that leaves me with 10 left. Engineers and infantry. I'm running out of time here. I got to spend these 10 points. My Brigadier General here, Jacob Cox, he can move like cavalry, so that means he can move 7 or 5. I can burn off 5 points if I just move him. Actually, I'll just move him up 7. There's something special there. So that takes off 7 points. So that leaves me 3 left with my regular counter. Now, if I wanted to, I could start pushing these. I gotta get rid of 3 more points somewhere. And I've moved everything, haven't I? I can't tap in. So this is interesting. I can't tap into my reserve counter because I haven't exhausted my main counter, but yet I would love to have more time to bring these infantry. I can bring, oh, holy cow, I can burn this by bringing 1 portion of this regiment onto the road and moving it forward 3 inches. And that will be done. I did not lay it down before that went off. I'm conflicted. I'll tell you what, I'm not going to allow, me as the referee is saying to me as the player, hey, you didn't lay that down. But we're going to go ahead and let you do that and exhaust those last 3 points, but you cannot begin tapping into your reserve counter or reset the clock for another 10 minutes. Sorry, you lose. That is the end of turn 3. So let's position this guy correctly. Nice try. Next turn, you can start bringing on some more of that next infantry regiment. I'll go ahead and bring up our marker now. These guys are the 12th Kentucky Infantry Regiment, 3 bases worth. So they're going to come in on all 3 of these roads. I'm going to position my general here in the middle of the 2 lines of battle. I'm going to consolidate my lines of battle. And then hopefully we'll get a scouting report next turn from these guys. I think they're close enough to get there. So I should be able to get a scouting report on that ferry and start narrowing my course of action decision-making framework here for where I need to make this crossing, which will help me position my engineering resources for when I want to lay down the pontoons so that I can not only cross my division, but also prepare for Haskell's 2nd Division behind me to cross over. That's the Union plan in a nutshell. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. Talk to you tomorrow.